Of New Smyrna Beach Planning and Zoning Board and Land Planning Agency for Monday, November 3rd, 2025 may come to order. Please silence all cell phones. Stephanie, could you please call the roll?
Jesse Thompson. Here. Deb Dennins.
Here.
David McKenna.
Here.
John Causey.
Here.
Thomas Bean.
Here.
John Hall.
Yes.
Stephen Yates. And Larry Wheatcraft.
Here. Thank you. Approval of the agenda. City staff, do you have any changes to the agenda?
I do have a couple changes, please. So first, I'd like to say we are going to continue item 5C. That is the ZT 1025 subdivision plat process zoning text amendment. We're looking to continue that to our December Planning and Zoning Board meeting. And then also, we would like to just switch the voting order for 5A and 5B. Those items will be presented together, voted separate, but we will vote on 5B first and then item 5A.
Okay.
I also would like to welcome our two new board members. To my left, I have Deb Dennys and Dave McKenna. This is their first meeting, and we were very happy to have Kip Hovershorn and Curtis Hodges. This is their first meeting not with us, so welcome. That's all I have.
Thank you. Just to verify, do we need to go ahead and vote on those agenda changes? Or
Or if there's a consensus.
is there a consensus? Any problems? Any issues? Discussion? Okay, seeing none, I think we'll go ahead and adopt that. Thank you. Okay, approval of minutes, October 6, 2025. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Stephanie, could you please call the roll vote?
Member Dennins.
Denny's.
Yes. Denny's,
Denny's.
like the restaurant with one N.
Okay. Denny's.
Yeah.
You got to say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. John Hall.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. McKenna.
Yes.
Mr. Bean.
Yes.
And Chair Wheatcraft.
Yes.
On the motion to approve the October 6, 2025
Did we
planning
miss
and zoning-
one?
Oh,
I vote yes.
Mr. Causey.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, public participation. In accordance with resolution number 11-89, a 3-minute limitation will be imposed unless otherwise granted by the Planning and Zoning Board. This is the opportunity to address any item not a part of tonight's agenda. So the floor is yours if you'd like to speak on anything on not on tonight's agenda. Seeing none, public participation is closed. We'll move right in with CPA, right? We're going to go ahead and start off with that. Okay, so I'll read that into the record then. So CPA-0007- at 1300 South Atlantic Avenue. This is the review and give a recommendation to the City Commission on a proposed small-scale comprehensive plan amendment, changing the future land use designation from commercial to medium-density residential on approximately 1.01 acres located at 1300 South Atlantic Avenue. City staff, do you have a report?
Thank you. Good evening. Shane Corbin, Development Services. So we're going to talk about two applications here, but they are going to be separate and very distinct votes, but they are interwoven because one is a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment that needs to be done in conjunction with, for the zoning that they're requesting to be available. So we're going to start talking about the comprehensive plan amendment, and that is to change a future land use designation on this parcel from commercial to medium-density residential with the goal of building single-family homes. And then we'll talk about the rezoning from an existing B2 neighborhood business to R3A single-family and two-family residential. So to start, if you're not familiar with this property, it's the old bank property. Previously, they had proposed a parking garage on this site, and it got a lot of attention, and the neighborhood was not in support of that project, so eventually they left that alone, and they started to look at other potential developments for it. Here's an aerial photograph. You see the old bank. People park there now. It's right behind the Walgreens over on Beachside. It's another view of it. And so here's their first ask. The first ask, as you can see, the parcel on the left-hand side highlighted in black. That is the parcel. It's got 6 existing or old platted lots on it. And so it's currently got the future land use of commercial. And it is seeking to go to what you see on the on the right-hand side where the parcel turns orange to medium-density residential. And you can see there is other medium-density residential nearby. So the maximum dwelling units per acre for medium-density residential is 8. Has FAR of 0.5, a floor area ratio, and it's intended to be a buffer between low-intensity residential uses and more intense uses, such as high-density residential or commercial. And so this parcel does fall in between commercial and low-density residential, or single-family residential. It's also suitable at major intersections with adequate buffering from the highways can be provided. So that was their first ask, basically. These 2 pictures right here, and that's from a future land use of commercial to medium density residential. So then we get into their second ask, and that's to go from the photograph on the left, which is B2, neighborhood commercial, to R3A, which you see on the right, which is consistent with the property across the street. So in B2 residential, what they are currently, I've just highlighted one set of uses that are permitted by right. This is a whole list of permitted uses of what you can do on there currently. And one of those is multifamily residential. So they can do residential development on it, but it does not allow single family residential. And that's what their desired end goal is and why they're making these requests. However, the comp plan does have language in it, so staff can't recommend support for this because of the language in the comprehensive plan. It's not that we hate this project, it's just technically this language is in the comprehensive plan. Objective of maintaining land for non-residential uses, ensure that the amount of land already designated for non-residential uses does not decrease. So that language is in there. And so we're looking at that and saying, because that is in there, we cannot recommend approval for the request for a comprehensive plan future land use amendment. However, when they rezone to R3A, they can do single family. So it's just a technicality between multifamily, what this says in the comprehensive plan, and what is allowed in the R3A. The other issue that we have, so here's an aerial photo. You can see the bank on the right and the Walgreens on the left. So currently these are both commercial properties. So they're required to have a 7-foot, if these are being built new, they'd be both required to have a 7-foot vegetative buffer along the property line for a total of 14 feet, 7 on each side. However, if this property on the right has the future land use amendment and the zoning change, that land use buffer jumps to 25 feet on the commercial property. So it'd be on the Walgreens side. There's not enough room for that to happen. And I know there's a lot going on this slide, but you can see the green dash lines. Those represent what would be required 7 feet if it was commercial, abutting commercial. And then if the request goes through, now we're looking at a 25-foot buffer. So that actually goes into the building, and this red line represents about where that would be. And so technically it would make this property non-conforming. So there's a couple of different ideas they have for how to resolve this, and I'll let them describe all of that, what they've decided to do. But because of this issue, we cannot recommend approval unless they come up with a solution to this. And here are just some minimum lot standards for R3A, pretty basic stuff. Here's a survey of the existing lots that are there, and they're just asking you to go back to the original lots. I know there's a lot going on this slide as well, but it shows the bank, the driveway, and then you've got the lot lines creating six lots. Stormwater, they don't have figured out yet. One option would be to do an exfiltration system. Another would be to put a shared swale in the back and let all the stormwater collect there. One thing we do know is that the current bank does not meet our stormwater regulations. They don't have any stormwater mitigation on that lot at all. So anything that gets put here will have to meet our new regulations, and that would be a better scenario for the stormwater. As far as traffic, the traffic impact analysis isn't required unless a project generates 1,000 or more daily trips, and a typical single-family home only generates between 8 and 10 peak trips a day. So we're not concerned about needing any traffic impact analysis or what that would do to the traffic in the area. It would be what they're proposing would be a very low impact as far as traffic is concerned. And here are the two recommendations, and we're recommending denial for the reasons that I stated. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of staff?
None at this time.
I know they have a presentation to give as well.
Mhm.
So,
Well, if there's none, we'll wait for the presentation.
pardon me?
If there's no discussion or questions, questions for staff, I'll go ahead and bring up the applicant if they'd like to come forward. Thanks, Shane.
Thank you. You got it.
Hey, good evening. Mike Woods with the law firm Cobb Cole, 231 North Woodland Boulevard in DeLand, here today on behalf, I think I'm technically listed as the applicant, but on behalf of the property owner. And it's good to see a familiar face from back in the day. With our staff today, we've got Keith Dreyses here, Jay Pendergrass, who will ultimately be working on our architectural project if and when we were able to move forward, and Khalid is here as well with us. And so we've been really kind of trying to do something that I don't usually get called in to do, and that's stepping down an intensity or density in a project. And I'll walk you through, my slides go between both the land use change and the rezoning change because they kind of are a little intertwined. But at the end of the day, I think the two main issues that staff has kind of identified where they have a concern or that they're not so much in opposition to what we're trying to do, but we've got the technicalities we're trying to overcome. I think we have answers for that. Ultimately, I think that would have to go to the county or to the city commission to kind of verify, because it would be a policy interpretation, particularly on the comp plan element. But I think we have some resolution to, in a couple of different ways to kind of skin that, if in fact you are willing to entertain the step down from the commercial to the single family residential. Again, we're dealing with just a little over 1 acre of property. Presentation gave a good location or idea of where the location is. The two main things for you to know, some of you were probably on the board about a year ago. We have some new faces here as well. Current property owners own this property since 2020. It's been vacant and underutilized for a number of years. Probably uses overflow parking from the neighbors and whatnot across the street. We do have the Walgreens directly to the next of us, but then across the street to the east are additional single-family homes. The last crack at this included this parcel and one parcel, I believe, to the north for a much larger project in keeping with the existing land use and zoning. There were still adjustments and asks for relief, but it was definitely a taking the commercial designation and running with it. That went through planning board, got approval at planning board, was scheduled for city commission, was withdrawn in part because there was, I think, 400 petitions. It was described as a phone book of petitions for residents that didn't want that commercial in the proximity to the residential. So what you have for us here is a 180, coming in with a much less intense use, and then trying to navigate some of the restrictions in there that prevent us from doing what we think was what the neighbors were asking for a year ago. So when we come to the land use, the main thing I want to kind of point out to you is the change from the density. Obviously, it's a step down. There is already allowable multifamily density, the townhouses, and we could go and do that today. But we think the single family is more in keeping with what's across the street, and it's a project that we think we can work with better. And you can kind of see the intent of the commercial and then the intent of the medium density residential. That FAR is the main sticking point, but again, when we come at the end of the presentation, I'll kind of walk you through some of our interpretations where I think we can get around that sticking point and still meet the letter and intent of the law. And then with our zoning request, and this is kind of drafted potentially for a larger audience when we get to the commission, just to kind of assure, well, what are we trying to do, what are we not trying to do, tamp down some of the expectations or the conversations that you might hear on Facebook. The minimum height is not changing. The maximum building coverage, right now with the B2 is 35%, and that's just the footprint of your main structure. That technically goes up when you go to single family, but not in the aggregate, right? Because the B2 is assuming a single parcel that you'd be building a commercial project in. The important thing here, and they touched upon it a little bit during the staff presentation, is our impervious area is being, we have less impervious area that's allowed, so more open space. And I think one of the selling points in this redevelopment is we are going to be bringing on a project to your current stormwater standards. That is a critical path in everything that we do, every jurisdiction for sure, but what is there now may function as it was designed at the time, I'm sure was compliant at the time, but you will be, with this redevelopment, being brought to the current 2025, well, 2026 when it gets, approved and construction underway standards for stormwater. But again, this is just to kind of reassure folks, sometimes rumor mills get going on Facebook. This is definitely a step down in intensity. This is not an end round for a bigger structure or anything else like that. This again is just kind of showing the distinction between, what you can do by right with the B2 neighborhood district and then what you can do by right or as an accessory structure on the right is your R3 zoning. Obviously a whole lot more going on in the B2 neighborhood compared to the single family residential. This again is to emphasize what we're really trying to come in here is build a couple houses. Let's see. And this gets into the zoning request there. And then for the B2, you've got a couple other special conditions and uses, a little less for the R3A. But again, the uses, it's just again to put it out there. We are aware of what could be done. We're coming in very small, very compartmentalized with our request. Talked a little bit about why these changes are being proposed and kind of hitting, I don't want to say a buzzsaw with the last application, but certainly taking our lesson and listening to what was said. Height limitations do not change, impervious allowances are reduced. So let's talk about the two kind of issues that we have. Under the land use, there's that policy that states that overall, we're trying to preserve the commercial property in New Smyrna Beach. On its face, it makes a lot of sense, but in its application, it's kind of hard to try to figure out how are we applying it. So one, it's unclear if it's a net determination across the city. So as you have other changes, whether it's by our application and my client has other projects that are going from commercial or from residential to commercial elsewhere, it's kind of silent as to whether or not that is supposed to be factored in or not. What's definitely not taken into consideration, and I did not have a chance to go into like the underlying notes when they adopted the comp plan, is that there's no connection to the market demand utilization. In that this is a project that's in a commercial area and has sat vacant for a number of years, waiting for something to happen for a commercial purpose. There then becomes a question of, well, how long does that party have to wait? But what I think is the real workaround to it is dealing with what the land use provides for in conjunction with what the zoning already provides for as well. And the big jump here is from 2.0 FAR to 0.5 FAR. And so for those of you who may not be familiar with your FAR, if you figure out a 2.0, it means you can basically cover the entire property with development twice over. FAR 0.5 is half the property. But when you look at your code provisions, and I didn't bring we had a whole worksheet that kind of worked it out. It'll go in for submittal to the commission before reading there. But you've already adopted policies for the zoning provision and for Coronado Beach that already limits the yield of what that FAR. So that 2.0 is on the books. You can't get there from here. You have a 3-story height limitation. So that widows yourself down pretty substantially. Then you have that impervious area. And the impervious area is really the function that limits you even more, because what's the most impervious area of a project? It's your parking. So when we start doing the calculations and we say the maximum footprint that we can do for the building under the FAR currently, and then you provide for what's available for the parking, that gets shrunk down as well. Just doing a rough calculation, and I didn't have a chance to sketch it out, but by the time you reduce that down, you are down to a 0.5 FAR, which is what is then allowed for by the request that we are making. And that kind of makes sense because that's in keeping with a neighborhood commercial kind of development for the FAR that's allowed there. To us, I think there's merit in having the discussion on those other provisions, but I think as a practice, if the idea is we don't want to limit, even in that area, the amount of commercial that's allowed, you're never going to get 2.0 FAR at best. And I was using very conservative parking requirements for your straight commercial, straight office. You're never going to get anything more than 0.5 because your zoning controls it. So that's where we feel very confident that we are meeting with the letter and the intent of that restriction. We're not taking away or denying any potential future commercial for that parcel in perpetuity by making this land use change. And then this one's a little bit more straightforward and easy to kind of understand, but it's an interesting kind of unique quirk with some of the code provisions for the city of New Smyrna Beach, in that you can have buffers that are larger than what your setbacks may be required. And so what we have here is with the Walgreens parcel being constructed, assuming, rightfully so, that it had commercial next door to it. With our change, we don't want to create a hardship or a problem for the neighbor next to us. So where it kind of, because the building kind of juts out a little bit for the Walgreens, our solution is either through dedication or full-on deeded property to fill out the distance for them to have additional property from our parcel given over to the Walgreens parcel. We would have enough depth to do that and still do our stormwater management on the property. It's just a matter of getting the survey done to convey that over to them. Keep in mind that the buffer requirement there, it puts the onus upon the commercial property to provide the buffering, but it's there for the benefit of our project. We will still get to that point. That project will still have the necessary buffering required. We just have to transfer that over to the fee owner, either in a dedication with a specific purpose running in perpetuity or an actual fee dedication. And that would avoid any problems for the Walgreens parcel. And then you will still end up having a commercial parcel already established with adequate buffering adjacent to this new residential. Again, you know, it feels like we're kind of taking a lot of effort here, but this is, again, coming from hearing the neighbors not wanting to have the intensity of the commercial before, but trying to get something that's active and useful, and just trying to see, you know, we're right across the street from single-family residential, trying to mirror what that is. And really the biggest distinction on all of this is the difference between a single-family standalone or, you know, separate versus a common wall with a townhouse. And we're just looking for the ability to do that density and intensity as a single-family lot instead of as a townhome project. Your height limitations are going to be impacted. We don't get anything additional or beneficial by making the switch other than being able to do the type of single-family product that we want to be able to do. And then our request is a reduction in density and intensity from the previous proposal and keeping in line with the adjacent parcels. That's probably the most straightforward reduction I've asked for in the last 3 or 4 years of my practice. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, but we're hopeful for your recommendation of approval to the City Commission and would like to get this project underway. So any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions of the applicant?
Is the intention for the developer to build out houses or to sell lots?
To build, it could be both, but it's single-family lot is in tracking what was there previously and what was across the street. Yeah.
Have you, I know when the project for the parking garage was discussed a year ago, or more than a year ago, you know, you did get a lot of feedback from the surrounding community. Have you taken the time to reach out to those same folks to say, what do you think about this idea instead?
Actually, we have not, we went under this project trying to figure out if, in fact, we could do what we were trying to do, so we've not had that conversation. And part of it is, I don't know how else we could be any less intense than what we're kind of proposing right now. So we would feel, as was the case the last go-around, if there was some substantial concerns, we'd probably hear of it. We just wanted to get this in front of you to get any feedback, particularly on the nature of the interpretation on the land use change. So.
Chair, real quick, I just want to confirm that we did get a certified letters that were sent out by them.
Oh, yeah.
So the property owners were noticed about the
Okay.
meeting, and it was published in the paper.
Yeah, we just
Thank
didn't
you.
have a specific neighborhood meeting, but yeah, they've all been put on notice. Thank you. Yeah.
Hey, Mike. Good to see you again. Question, I'm glad that you clarified, because one of the things that I highlighted, my concern, original concern, is the encroaching and jeopardizing and making Walgreens a non-conforming
Structure, yeah.
structure, because it was there to begin with. So,
Correct.
I still have concerns, but I think you answered that without jeopardizing the Walgreens. Would they still be non-conforming with what he has just suggested? Does that take the non-conforming issue off the table?
It would also have to be planted, but that would be our responsibility, presumably, to put that in. It solves the geometry of it, right? And then they would no longer be non-conforming for the buffer violation.
Okay.
I don't think I got clarity on what your actual plan was
A
for that.
conveyance of the property to the
Conveyance?
Walgreens folks, yeah.
Okay.
Through a deed, right?
Yeah.
Deed conveyance. Okay, and because I am the new person here, Mr. Chair, so please excuse me, then what is the protocol then? Do we have our conversation between us before a vote, or does it all happen right now?
It happens right before the vote. So we have the opportunity to hear from city staff, the applicant, public participation, and then see if they have anything else, and then we'll have a discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions of the applicant?
No, but I have a question for Stephanie. Is there, with the 25-foot buffer required for commercial properties, is there anything in our landscaping or definitions of buffers that allows one to say, hey, if you put twice as many trees in, it can be reduced to this, or a fence counts for anything, or any other way?
Not for commercial to residential. So
Okay.
there's no waiver for the 25-foot.
We went looking for that, absolutely. Because it's a straightforward solution, but, we're transferring over property and, that's a variance is much easier, or, a wall or screening or density. But again, that's kind of the unique quirk of New Smyrna is how they handle the commercial is a buffer that's technically, I think, deeper than what your setbacks would otherwise be required for commercial. And so you get into this situation, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
So at this time, we'll go ahead and open up public participation. A 3-minute limitation will be imposed unless otherwise granted by the board. And when you come up, if you don't mind mentioning your name and address for the record.
Yeah, I'm Jay Pendergast, and I'm with the applicant.
Do you mind speaking a little closer to the mic for me?
Sure. Jay Pendergast. I'm the architect for the applicant. And what I wanted to bring to you tonight is we just finished the rendering and the site plan for redeveloping the site. and it shows you the possibilities of what it really looks like when it's built. And if possible, I have a PowerPoint, if Stephanie can turn it on. Is that possible?
So this isn't necessarily part of public participation. This is just adding on to the applicant's.
Yeah, they forgot about me.
Okay. Does anyone have any
But I'll be
problem with
public
modifying this
participation.
quickly? Just enough for the applicant to be able to pull up the PowerPoint and take a look at this? Any objection? Okay.
Wouldn't think so.
So we'll reopen public participation as soon as we're done on this side.
NSB, down, there you go. Okay, so here's the plan. This is the original survey with the 6 lots. Actually, that one shows 8 lots. And since we could do 8 houses by the definition of the requirements of the number of units on that acre, I drew 8. And if you go to the next one, Steph, as you can see, each of the houses, you have single-family homes. They all have 2-car garages. They all have 2 parking spaces. They all have a roof deck that can take advantage of whatever views you'll see. And there's also room for a pool. And some of the lots are a little bit larger, and there's room for a cabana if you wanted to have something like that. Now, this does not take into account, this was drawn using just regular setbacks. So when we start discussing what to do with the buffer with Walgreens and how great that should be, basically what it does is it reduces this project to a 6-unit project from 8, unless we can negotiate the buffer requirements. So this is just a quick 2D. That's what your street view would look like on top, South Atlantic, on the bottom from 3rd, and then on the right, 4th. And then when you go ahead and move forward, this is actually a rendering of what the homes would look like on the site. And honestly, we can also see with buffering, the edge between the Walgreens and this residential community, it can go away. It can be very much reduced. It can be landscaped in, which is what happens in a lot of places in Florida. I mean, you could landscape away some of those commercial buildings if people would just plant enough landscaping. So it's certainly been done all over South Florida. And so landscaping is really the answer to buffering the site. So, but I did want you to see what your typical houses would look like on that site, although I probably don't design the typical house. They're designed to take advantage of the site where you can have a rooftop view and see a little bit of the ocean or something from up there. Any questions?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
In the presentation, we're talking about single-family units.
Yes, sir.
So how many bedrooms do you plan on, would one of these average homes have?
They're 3 to 4 bedrooms.
Okay, so it's not going to be like a 18 bedrooms and
No.
15 bathrooms?
I actually have floor plans for each. It's really unusual. It's like it says six sites or 8 sites, and there's like 5 different floor plans. Because when you really get down to it, between corner lots, different things, you can't just do a cookie cutter 6 straight across. But they are designed as single-family homes and with various number of bedrooms.
And so parking at most would be 4 cars, 2 in the garages and 2 in the driveway?
Correct. So that doubles our parking requirement, actually.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Any other? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the applicant's team that wants to come up as a part of their presentation before I reopen public participation? Are you good? Do you have anybody else from your team? Okay, just wanted to double check. Okay, so at this time, we'll go ahead and open up public participation. I'll repeat it again. A 3-minute limitation will be imposed otherwise granted by the board. Is there anyone that would come forward to speak on this agenda item at this time? Okay, seeing none, public participation is closed. City staff, do you have anything further? Okay. Applicant, I'd imagine nothing further, so we'll have discussion by the board. So anybody would like to start?
Mr. Chair, I'll start, if that's okay.
Of course.
I had, in reviewing this, the first thing that caught my attention, I mean, we're talking about details and it looks beautiful homes, by the way, and the rooftop view is great, but let's get back to the basics. In reading this, I know we talked about the FAR, the floor area ratio and all of that, but what we're not paying attention, or as much attention in my opinion, is the comprehensive plan, the city's comprehensive plan as written, and the goal states that the amount of land already designated for non-residential uses does not decrease. And looking at this, goal 4, commercial industrial development, the city's current policies and objectives in their comp plan is number 1, high quality commercial and industrial development, and number 2, to maintain the economic health of the city, and 3, to increase job opportunities per capita income and convenience for its residents. We know that to lessen the tax burden on us, on the citizens, we need more commercial. That's the only way to take it off the residents. So this is, when I looked at the picture, which is beautiful, the artwork is beautiful, but what I saw was residential in the middle of a commercial zone. And I don't think that's the goal of our commission and the comp plan and the goals and objectives. So I'm concerned about that, and I think that overweighs. You know, we can, the pictures look great and all of that, but I'm not, and that's why I had asked staff. That's why you got this sheet. It shows the percentage currently in New Smyrna Beach of residential versus commercial, and we are way out of skew. New Smyrna is totally unbalanced. Commercial versus residential. Residential right now is 84%, and I think even with my readers on, the commercial I think is at 9.6%. So with that, in my filter, looking at this, going forward, I'm not going to support it based on those parameters of the existing comp plan and the goals and giving up commercial for residential.
I have a question on that chart you're talking about, okay? Does this percentages and properties do just existing zoned properties, or does it include things like Deering Park or South Village that's adding probably 8 or 10% more to commercial space?
No, it's the current tax roll.
It's what's on the current tax roll, correct?
Okay. Okay, so one thing to look at with that, and again, another way to look at this is that the city can't be stagnant, it's got to be changing. And the overall objective to not reduce the amount of business space is admirable. We have effectively planned for additional business space, which kind of offsets all of that. Part of the objections when the parking garage was proposed was the people directly across the street saying, hey, we're in a low-density, single-family, low-height type of roof-line building, and the commercial warehouse or parking garage is going to be huge, a monstrosity compared to us. I do think it is this parcel is contiguous to similarly zoned residential, separated by the street, Atlantic. And it's personally, I don't view this as an island of residential among commercial. Just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Any other?
Yeah, so I think that there's an interesting conundrum here where we have a comprehensive plan forward by our city that, you know, is essentially the rule of law, so to speak, when it comes to this sort of development. And then you've got landowners that proposed something that was consistent with the comprehensive plan, but was overwhelmed by public opinion and outcry. So they said, well, let's just step back from that project, even though even back then I remember seeing the renderings going, yeah, it's a parking garage, but it's not a parking garage that you would normally consider an eyesore, if you will. And you know, people may choose to disagree with that, but I think what they were trying to do with that initiative was to make it as visibly pleasing as possible and still functional and falling in line with the comprehensive plan. So that gets shot down because of public opinion. Now they come back and say, yes, we realize the comp plan doesn't allow for this and we're going to have to change the land use and the rezoning, but we want to be sensitive to the neighbors and create an aesthetically pleasing single-family home development. So, you know, I'm kind of with Deb on this one because by the comp plan, we can't go forward with this or can't approve it or recommend it rather. But I understand at another level where this is a great alternative if things can change. Because the renderings are good, and I know Jay does great work, and so I just think I understand the challenge that's happening here, you know, the yin and the yang of the whole thing, and I just, you know, it's unfortunate that that's the way it is, but that's our reality, right? We live in a town where we have 32,000 opinions about what happens when it comes to development, and sometimes those are taken under way too much consideration, I guess. That's where we're at.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion? I'll go ahead and throw in my 2 cents. So when Deering Park was coming through, I believe it was last year, and he happens to be here, the former city manager, so it's good to see you. He had mentioned and stressed how important the commercial aspect was to our city. And that was the prevailing thought for me to move forward with recommending approval for Deering Park. So ever since I've heard the stats, the numbers over 80% of our tax base is based upon residential. Although I do understand there's the small provision that could allow some type of residential, the multifamily residential within this zone. I hardly ever see property that goes from commercial to residential ever revert back. I mean, I did want to ask staff of that. I just hardly ever see that. You almost always see it the other way around. So I have a concern that if we did rezone this from commercial to residential, that commercial opportunity is lost. I understand nothing has happened commercially for, it sounds like, the last 5 years. And I do agree, we do have to change. You know, we are a city that's going to have to evolve with whatever our needs are. One of our needs is to diversify our economy a little bit and where our tax base is coming from. When I think about the lower density of this particular project and considering the other neighbors immediately around there and what they're looking for, there's something else that has to be taken into consideration as well, which is that particular area is the most used access point in the entire county for the beach. So they may be lower density, however, they have a massive amount of traffic that goes through there for the beach. So I'm already going, well, I appreciate your low density nature, but you're not truly low density with all the commercial and everything else around you. So you may want more single family, but there's got to be a happy medium. I almost feel like we went from a large parking garage to single family, just on total opposite ends of the spectrum. Maybe something in the middle. I really love mixed-use projects, but I don't think that's gonna be eligible due to the size of the property, if I'm not mistaken. But it does need to be something different than this, but I am concerned about losing that commercial space. So, that's my thought. I mean,
I have a question for the architect. I believe in the B2 zoning, you're allowed townhouses, multifamily, 12 units per acre. Can 12 units be fit on that site? Was it looked at all in the initial planning for this?
if you're gonna speak, if you don't mind coming to the microphone to answer the question. Just so we have everything on the record.
Hi, Jay Pendergast. Yeah, you could design it with townhouses, but it's much more dense. You know, so
Correct.
we'd be increasing the density, and so we were actually going with lower density was the idea.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's in response to like the middle term, because under the existing zoning, they could do 12 acres, or 12 units.
Instead of 6.
This is a 6 or 8, depending on how one looks at that 25 foot, and what comes about for that. So it's, yeah, this is splitting the baby.
If you don't, just to clarify and piggyback off of
If everybody's good with it?
that comment.
Okay, no objections.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for asking.
You know, I never want to like insert myself where I'm not supposed to. The two, I think, concerns kind of dealing with going back to the FAR condition, and it's one of those problems with having the land use application coming in concurrently with the zoning, and you look at the land use change. If you just look at the land use change, that's kind of where that discussion was, that you have the same square footage. It's deemed as a reduction in an intensity of commercial, not necessarily the square footage with the land use change, because that's the basis for the approval to denial of the comp plan amendment, is simply, like, that's the main objection from staff. When we talk through that the reality is you'll never get the 2.0, so there's really a nil change from the land use. And I know it's kind of weird in a logical kind of conversation, but then you jump over to the zoning, and yes, we are talking about, yes, you've seen the residential coming in, but you're allowed to do a residential use already with the commercial. And so, you know, I appreciate kind of trying to split the baby. The one thing I will kind of point out, because I don't know that the valuation was necessarily the driving force with the comp plan policy in of itself. That's some part of it, but I think it was also proximity for the amount of commercial in an area so that you didn't have to drive too far away, right? But with these projects, if you just look at the residential tax base for the homes across the street, you are looking at multi-million-dollar homes there that come in, which is a little different than, say, doing a commercial project to a single-family residential down on State Road 44. And a lot of the policy that's in that place for the commercial use and the kind of the preservation specifically references farther to the west of State Road 44 and trying to kind of control some of that. So with this project, yes, we need some diversification. I don't think that that's a problem, but I think the valuation for 6 lots of near, I mean, it's beachside, I'm a DeLand guy, so everything's beachside over here, but to be that close proximity to the beach and to have that valuation, I think offsets that risk.
So I'm curious about something about that, because we're talking, you know, we're talking about tax base and comp plan and all that sort of thing. If there's 6 homes, they look like homes that would probably be valued at $2.5 million each, right? So you're talking about $14 to $15 million worth of property or homes that are going to be taxed, right? So the other component of all of that we have to factor in is, if we think about the tax, and I agree with you, Deb, it's way skewed in the wrong direction, but in this particular case, if those homes were built and those properties were taxed at the normal millage rate that we have here in this town, that's a substantial amount of revenue that would come into the city.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Bobby Luther, part of the ownership group. The parking garage was costing us about 11 and a half.
If you don't mind speaking directly into it.
The
Sorry.
parking garage was costing us about $11.5 million to build. If we go from 8 lots to 6 lots and leave that buffer in the back for Walgreens, these houses are going to be $2.8 to $3 million. That brings in about $18 million to revenue versus the 11.5 to 12 million, which is coming with the parking garage. So as far as the revenue tax base goes, that's where we're at as far as taxes go.
Can I throw in a wrench here potentially? And if I'm out of bounds, let me know. But I know there's a lot of talk right now within the state of getting rid of property taxes. If we were to do that, and they're talking about putting it on the ballot next year, that could potentially throw out the whole entire concept of residential homes providing a solid tax base.
And going back to another point that you guys had
Am
brought
I
up
out of
earlier.
bounds on that?
Sorry.
Or I just wanted to make sure I wasn't,
It's a hypothetical.
Okay.
You've posed it. People can listen to it.
okay. Thank you.
In our zoning, we're allowed to do 12 townhomes. We met with some of the residents in the area, and they preferred us to doing higher-end single-family residential. That's kind of why we went in that direction. But otherwise, we don't have to come, and we have, in our zoning, it allows us to go ahead and do 12 units there, multifamily townhomes.
Okay.
Yeah, again, this is, you know, it is rare to come and ask for permission to do less, but that's exactly what we're trying to do here, to be responsive to the good neighbors. And, you know, you raise a good point, and it is kind of a hypothetical, and, you know, where does that leave a city like New Smyrna? Either way, with residential versus commercial, now your ratios are completely, you know, out of whack. But until it happens, and until there's a solution as to how you're going to fund your government, I just don't know. I don't know what the solution is.
All above our heads at this time.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I think something we ought to consider, that's already sat there 5 years. And it's a commercial piece of property that is off of the 44 corridor there. A developer is going to find there's basically no visibility. So my thing is if it's going to sit there as the eyesore that it is presently, another 5 years, that conceptual that we just looked at was beautiful. Now, if I live out across the street residentially, I kind of like that. Number one, it's going to upgrade my property value. It's going to stabilize it. And when you get the community with residential homes there, the 3rd Street ramp right there is the most used ramp in the city. It just seems if somebody went out there and put something in that they could put in that got real trafficy, it could be very, very dangerous. And so I personally see it as number one, it's going to be probably right in the 2.5, 2.7 as far as the price, and that offsets the taxes. So I don't want to be looking at that another 5 years from now, personally. It's not our community. We're trying to take care of some of these eyesores that we have, and the gentleman wants to spend that kind of money and do it right. I like doing it right, and it just looked good to me.
It definitely looks good.
Yeah.
I'll completely give you that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So, just one question though, or comment. I'm still going to stand by my original comments. How do we line that up with the city's comprehensive plan?
That's
How-
what,
I mean, how do we explain it? I mean,
I think we would have to be looking at doing some type of comp plan amendment, like a text amendment to the comp plan. Am I on the right direction, Stephanie? Like, as a part of this, if this moved forward potentially, staff would have to look at a text amendment to address that issue within the comp plan.
Not necessarily. You would have to change your future land use, which is in the comprehensive plan for this property. You just would not be following the recommendation of the comprehensive plan if this were to move forward as an approval.
Okay. So if we potentially change the comp plan prior to this, then we wouldn't have that rule, that policy to follow at this time, right?
Sure, if
Okay.
there was a movement to change our comprehensive plan to not state that we are not to transition commercial to residential, I don't see that being proposed at this time.
Okay.
But do we then set, and we then open the door for everything else after this? I mean, depending on what happens here, now you have, what wasn't true before is going to be true then, and then it'll get built on, and this will be used as a landmark case. I hate to use that word, but I guess that's the only one coming to my mind right now. But that will set the precedent and a challenge for other commercial and other things going forward. So this is not an isolated situation. Well, it is in one parcel isolated, and I understand all that. I get all that. But at the same time, it just does not run parallel with the city's comp plan, or do we really want to go down that slope of opening the door and then see what else happens? And as far as Deering Park, and I understand the statistics, that's a really good question on the commercial that's going to be added to that. But to balance that out, the residential that's coming in with Deering Park is going to be right. And I love Deering Park, by the way. I think it's an excellent project and community. But yes, there's going to be more commercial, but there's going to be a whole lot more commercial and residential to go along with it. So I don't see that tipping the scales and that percentage very much at what we're looking at right now. Could be wrong. I don't have all those numbers in front of me, but that's my concern is the comp plan, because that's what we're looking at.
If there's, yes, sir.
Yeah, so part of the conversation, because this comes from staff's interpretation, and they raise this as a potential issue. It is a policy planning decision for the commission, and it ultimately becomes an interpretation for them, right? And we've tried to, I don't want to say I'm being lawyerly here, but we give you the outs and the interpretations. I don't think anyone in adopting this contemplated a situation like this, right? So ultimately the decision-making goes to the commission to figure it out. But if you read through it kind of from the language as it's provided in the staff report, that the ultimate goal states that the amount of land already designated for non-residential uses does not decrease. Are you in violation of that just by building the townhomes without doing anything else? Right? Like there is room in there for interpretation that has to go to the commission to kind of decide. I do think that the overall concern comes from the balance and the ratio of how much residential and commercial there is in there. But I don't think they put any benchmarks in there to say, okay, and if we add in this other acreage to offset, is there a running tally of that? And I don't think you necessarily have to have a conversation that overturns or amends the existing, but it may strike a conversation with the commission to say, we need to clarify this, that maybe there is the update from Bieber as to how many commercial, from Volusia Economic Development Department, how much commercial has been provided in versus other jurisdictions. There's other ways to get to it. We're trying to work through with what the code provides, and plain meaning is very important to us. But in the same regard, if preservation or maximization of all commercial was the intent at the time that policy was adopted, it's at that same time that they adopted some of the policies that restricted the height and intensity of that commercial in there at the same time. So they already tamped that down. So I wasn't there when those policies were being adopted. I wasn't sitting through all those meetings. Some of you probably were. But it's in that totality, and then ultimately that goes to the commission to decide, because they are the ultimate policymakers on a legislative, not the quasi-judicial. So, and I think that ultimately is where it lands, is the quasi-judicial to zoning. I think we're pretty in agreement that it would be good to do if it wasn't causing a conflict with the comp plan policy, and that's ultimately for the commission to decide if that's the case or not. So, but again, it's an interesting. It's a unique dilemma that I've not really come across during my practice. So I've never had to fight so hard to try to be responsive on the neighbors. But all your points are all very well taken. I just think at the end of the day, the decision making it's going to have to be hashed out by the commission, because they're the ones that have the legislative decision making process.
Thank you. Are you guys okay with Another speaker real
I'm with
quick?
the applicant, so we'll be part of the application.
Okay.
Good evening and welcome Mrs. Dennis and Mr. McKenna and also Ms. Thompson. As you know, I pushed so hard for Deeren Park. And I know what's in the comp plan as far as in terms of not reducing commercial sites. But you could blame me for this one because I'm the one who actually suggested for them to use single-family homes. Because when they did the projects, the parking garage and the retail and the restaurants on top, a lot of the complaints were about three things: traffic, stormwater, and noise. Now, have you ever seen somebody is rezoning from commercial to residential? How often do you see that? You don't see it. So what type of commercial project that will actually go on site without having the neighborhood go wild? There is none. So these guys, they listen to what the community's concerns, and they wanted to address the three issues that we had. So in terms of traffic, I mean, you're talking about 8 to 10 trips, comparing to 1,000 trips for the garage. Any commercial site that you have to use parking. In terms of the noise, they were having a restaurant on top. That is gone. So the three issues that actually were a concern for the community, they're all addressed. On top of it, they are trying to rezone 15 acres on 44. So in reality, you're gaining 14 acres commercial. So, I mean, what else could they do? There is no commercial development that's going to go there without the neighbors just going out of hand. I don't see it. I'll leave it with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Anything else prior to a motion?
When you sent out the notices to the residents across the street, did you get any negative input?
Actually, they were sent certified mail by the applicant's attorney, Ms. Mike Woods. So I got return receipt. I haven't received anything from our department at all. We haven't received anything at all.
We have received no public feedback on this so far.
Same for us, no
So the
contact
neighborhood's
to us.
they've all been notified?
Yes,
And you
we got
didn't
the
get,
return receipts as well.
Very surprised we didn't have any public participation this evening, to be honest, after the parking garage.
I think it says a lot. The silence is loud in that respect. Because I agree with John, you know, that place has sat vacant for so long. And I remember when there was a public participation at the commission meeting, and a comment was made by a gentleman that was concerned about a parking garage because it would be a haven for crime. And I sat there and I thought, have you been by the old Regions Bank lately and go there at night and see how sketchy that can be? I mean, the improvement that potentially could come here, whether it is some sort of agreed upon commercial or you know, the comp plan has to be addressed, is going to be better than what's there. And I just think it is an eyesore. Those were your words, John, not mine. And I think that we have to consider because that is the busiest ingress to the beach in Volusia County. That's what people see when they come here to visit. And it's just troubling, I think, in that respect.
Any other discussion, or do I have a motion?
And I would recommend making the motion on
B.
5B first.
On the CPA.
Yes, we changed the agenda for the CPA. It should be first.
So that being said, do I have a motion?
I would make a motion to recommend the City Commission approve the future land use change for 1300 South Atlantic Avenue from commercial to medium-density residential.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, Stephanie, could you please call the roll vote?
Member McKenna?
No.
Member Dennons?
No.
Member Causey?
No.
Member Hall?
Yes.
Member Bean?
Yes.
And Chair Gates?
Weecraft?
Chair Gates? Not Gate, Wheatcraft.
Yeah, just double checking. No. Okay, with that being said, we'll move over to the next item, which is Z-0003-2025, 1300 South Atlantic Avenue. Review and give a recommendation to the City Commission on the rezoning of commercial property from B2 Neighborhood Business District to R3A, single family and two family, zero lot line residential located at 1300 South Atlantic Avenue. City staff, do you have anything further? Okay. The applicant, do you have anything further to go?
Real quick, Chair, let me just, for the record, for CPA-0225, 1300 South Atlantic, the vote was 2 in favor, 4 opposed, so it failed. I just want to make sure it's on the record.
Thank you. So city staff has nothing, the applicant has nothing, so at this time, we'll open up public participation for the rezoning of this property. A 3-minute limitation will be imposed unless otherwise granted by the Planning and Zoning Board. Yes, ma'am. If you don't mind stating your name and address for the record.
Gayla Leslie, 1306 Hill Street, so right across from the proposed rezoning. So when the parking garage was to be proposed, yes, the neighbors were scared, actually, because of the safety, because of the traffic, because it would tower over the noise, the preservation of the community. So if my understanding is correct, they could build townhouses, which are still houses, and now they're going to build 8 houses. So it doesn't seem a whole lot different, and it seems like that would be a positive thing to the neighborhood. And I can vouch that I did receive a certified letter, didn't know what it was about. My neighbor Sue received one, so my assumption is that all 5 neighbors did receive letters. So thank you for sending them. And we do want to know more about the project. We haven't been informed about the project, but so far it looks good. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to come forward at this time? Public.
Good evening, Richard Flanagan, Boston's Fish House.
If you don't mind saying that into the mic for me, thanks.
Good evening, Richard Flanagan, Boston's Fish House. I live, work on that corner every single day, and it's definitely residential. Even with the hotel there, just south of the hotel, it's homes. South of that, it's condominiums. To the north, it's all residential. Yes, it's the busiest beach egress. We deal with the traffic all the time. We're very good neighbors to try to let everybody park there, but it is 100% residential. I was blessed to be part of the whole procedure of trying to make it it just wasn't a parking garage. It was retail. It was restaurants. We were trying to do that comprehensive plan. But sitting many times in a lot of the city, a lot of the commissioners, it's an idea to try to pull traffic off of Flagler because of the chaos and the extra parking. It was a simple idea proposed by 2 gentlemen, and it took a lot of heat. So sitting in a lot of those meetings, the common denominator with all of the city officials is, can we just get this right one time? The zoning is whack. It's cookie cutter. So I agree with Khalid, this is your one time to get it right. I don't know what commercial thing anybody would approve there. And with the tides, with the beach parking coming up in a couple of years, who knows? I think this is the best use of this land for that corner and for all the surrounding neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sue Trask, it's 1300 Hill Street. And I, of course, was one of the people from the group when we didn't want to have the commercial building. I'm not upset about having residential. I guess the only thing, since I haven't seen setbacks and all that stuff, I want to make sure that we keep to whatever those setbacks for residential stay. We've been very lucky. We do not flood currently. I would be very concerned now that we're going to lose that big open space and we may start flooding. And of course, I would also like to remind everyone, not only is it so busy, but the fire department and everybody that comes down that street. That's the main thoroughfare, and I'm sure you all know that, but this is going to certainly impact that. Every time you see those firemen and emergency vehicles come by, this certainly is something to take note of. And of course, whatever drainage that is going to be needed for these buildings, I think certainly needs to really be looked at. I know that's maybe not your job, but anyway, but I know something has to go in there, and I think probably this is the best of all worlds. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to come forward at this time? Seeing none, public participation is closed. City staff, do you have anything further? The applicant, anything further? Okay, discussion and/or questions by the board? Any further discussion on our end? Okay. Seeing none, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion regarding item Z0325 to recommend to the City Commission approve the rezoning of 1300 South Atlantic Avenue from B2 to R3A.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Stephanie, could you please call the roll vote?
Member B?
Yes.
Member McKenna?
Yes.
Member Denny's?
No.
No. Sorry. Member Causey?
No.
Member Hall?
Yes.
And Chair Wheatcraft?
No.
Okay, so on the motion to recommend approval to City Commission for ZD-0325, 1300 South Atlantic Avenue as submitted, the vote is 3 in favor, 3 opposed, the motion fails.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to comments or statements by members of the board. Any comments? Anybody have anything? I know Stephanie mentioned earlier, but I just wanted to mention again, really appreciated having Mr. Hodges and Mr. Overshore as a part of our board prior, the years of service that they gave to the city. Just a reminder to anybody that's out there, this isn't paid. We're unpaid to be up here. We're appointed by the City Commission to try to help out and serve our community. So anybody's willing to give up their time, I just want to say thank you. So reports and communications by the staff.
No, I just want to say great job tonight, guys, and I appreciate all the input that you've given and thought that you put into these applications. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
One thing, just next December meeting, I will be sending out schedule for next year, so look at your schedule, compare. Chair and vice chair will be voting for that.
Okay.
Okay, keep in mind.
Sounds good.
That's it.
If there's nothing further, we are adjourned.